Hey guys, Mike Lesby here from Full Circle Training. I want to go over plantar fasciitis protocol. It's something I see very commonly with both athletes as well as just the everyday person. It's inflammation of the fascial tissue on the bottom of your foot that causes some issues with the extensibility of the muscles in the bottom of your foot. It can be very, very painful. It can range from mildly uncomfortable to incredibly painful to the point where it's debilitating, you can't walk. So I want to show you a protocol that I've developed that I've worked with, I've used for myself with very good effect with plantar fasciitis on my left foot. The key is consistency. So at least once a day, ideally, depending on how bad it is, you want to be doing this. There's stages that you want to go in, so I'll briefly go over those real quick. So the first thing you want to do is buff/mash your feet, ankles, shins, and calves. So bottom of your feet, particularly in the arch here, you can even get back to the heel a little bit, but really focus on that arch right here. The calves, obviously, the shins, and that's the nice thing about the buffer is you can actually put the buffer directly on your ankle and get a lot of the connective tissue, the peroneal ligament, stuff like that, nice and loose as well, and that will help augment or accentuate the stretching that you'll do after that. So you start by buffing and mashing, and we're going to go over these in just a minute. Then you're going to stretch your Achilles and stretch your calves. Then you're going to want to activate and strengthen the muscles that are going to help kind of prevent that excessive tightness from building up in the back there, in the Achilles as well as in the bottom of the foot, and that's dorsiflexion. So that's the muscles on the top of your shin, like your tibialis anterior, things like that. Dorsiflexion is the friend. So see how pulling your toe up away from the ground is your best friend when it comes to combating plantar fasciitis, because it helps to lengthen the tissue and keep it lengthened, as opposed to plantar flexion, which is shortening that tissue, both the Achilles as well as the bottom of the foot. So plantar flexion is not what we're looking for. It's more so dorsiflexion. So not only loosening the muscles in the back, but gaining strength in the opposing muscles in those dorsiflexors to help maintain that dorsiflexion and increase it best we can. Okay. So real quick, we're going to go over buffing. Okay. So I'm going to turn it on just for a brief second here because it's going to make a lot of noise. So literally, this is an orbital car buffer, 25 bucks from Home Depot. This is a incredibly useful tool for your entire body. If you're an athlete or someone who works out a lot, it's very, very effective for helping to loosen up tight tissue. Help you get warmed up, help heal injuries, help with scar tissue, that kind of stuff. So literally what I'm going to do is I'll pop it on here, and I'm going to start by getting the bottom of my feet, okay? Getting that arch, going all the way up. What you want to think about is a little bit of movement. So see, I'm kind of moving my ankle around, kind of extending, flexing a little bit, moving side to side, getting some inversion and eversion. Literally putting it right on the ankle there, bottom of the heel, all the way to the side, even getting on the top of the ankle here, okay? Getting the shins. Okay, getting the calves back here. Now I'm doing it for just a brief second. You want to spend, depending on how bad it is, you want to spend a good 30 seconds to a minute on each area. So 30 seconds to a minute on the feet, 30 seconds to a minute on the ankles, shins, calves. Really help loosen up that tissue so the stretching you're going to do is a little bit more effective. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. So now, Jake, come over here for me, bud. So now that's kind of the intro into the mashing. So it's a little bit easier. It's a little bit less intense, so to speak. So now we're going to go to a barbell mash for the feet. Okay, this one, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable, but you need it to be. You need that pressure to really release that fascial tissue from the muscle tissue. So see how I'm rolling right on the arch of my foot. Once again, you want to think movement to floss the tissue. So extending my toes, lengthening that tissue, getting a little bit of side-to-side movement, really exposing those muscles, going all the way, kind of from just below the toes. You can get back into the heel a little bit, but really focusing on that arch, okay? Wherever you feel kind of that pressure, that discomfort is where you want to focus on, okay? So that's mashing out your feet. Once again, at least 30 seconds, but up to 1-2 minutes, mashing those feet out, putting as much weight on it as you can. It should be pretty uncomfortable. You shouldn't be able to just hang out and kind of, BS this. It should be something where you really got to focus. It's painful. Like I said, about 8 or 9 on a 10 scale of discomfort. So now we're going to go to a calf mash. So the nice thing about this is the weight of the bar will do a lot of the work for you. So go come to the side here, Jake. So what you want to think about is, once again, maintaining that dorsiflexion, because this exposes the tissue, it lengthens it, whereas if you're in plantar flexion, it shortens it and somewhat engages it, so it's not going to allow for a proper release. You really want to get that dorsiflexion, get the bar on the top there. Once again, you want to kind of find your tight spots. For a lot of people, just the weight of the bar will be enough initially. Okay, it'll be pretty uncomfortable, once again, pretty painful, pretty tender. For me, I like to add in a little bit of pressure there by literally pushing on the bar, going all the way from below the knee joint
Getting the top of the calf there, getting over the belly of it. Okay, all the way down. You can even get on the Achilles here, really loosen that tissue. Once again, this is really setting you up for a much more effective stretch that we're going to show you in just a minute here. Okay, so once again, about at least 30 seconds up to 1-2 minutes at a time. Just find those tight areas and just letting that pressure dig in and release that tissue. Okay, so now we're going to move over to the Achilles stretch. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you want a band. Doesn't need to be an incredibly strong band. Okay, grab a seat, put it just over about a third down your foot. You want to relax your ankle as best you can. Let that band pull the top of your toe back, once again increasing your dorsiflexion for about 3, 2, 1. Then you're going to get a little bit of plantar flexion, and then immediately relax and try to get that toe back a little further. Essentially what you're doing by contracting with that plantar flexion and then immediately relaxing is it's going to help accentuate the stretch and get a deeper stretch each time. So what you want to think about is 3, 2, 1, get a little plantar flexion, 3, 2, 1, then relax, pull it back. Go good about 10 to 20 repetitions of this on each side. After you do that, we're going to do a basic calf stretch. I like to do it with a kettlebell, usually a smaller weight kettlebell, so something like this 8 kilo here, like this 12 kilo. Okay, what you want to do is, once again, dorsiflex. Put that toe up as much as you can on the kettlebell. Then that free foot, scoot it up. Then you're going to want to think about a hinge, okay? So don't just bend forward, shifting your weight forward. Think about keeping your weight back, and see I'm pushing my hips back as I lower my chest, just like you would for like a stiff leg deadlift. It's a good hinge pattern. And what that's really going to do is create a lot of tension back in the hammy, and also definitely big time in the calf, okay? The lower I go down as I push the hip back, the more I'm going to feel that stretch. And I'm also going to think about actively pulling my toes up towards me. So actively thinking about doing that dorsiflexion to deactivate the muscles in the back and really get a good stretch and release, okay? So you're going to go do that one for about at least 30 seconds, but once again, up to a minute or two, depending on how painful or tight the area is. You know, especially for me, for example, after I do like farmer's carries or something like that, my calves and plantar fasciitis tends to get tight and kind of flare up a little bit sometimes. So I'll do it a little bit longer in that circumstance. Whereas if it's feeling pretty good, not having too many issues, just go a quick 30 seconds just to maintain, that flexibility and not, make sure it doesn't tighten up. So now we're going to go into activation and strengthening. So a very basic one is toe and heel walks. So raise up as high as you can on your toes. Okay, you're going to go for about 10 yards. Okay, staying nice and high. So once I go about 10 yards, I'm going to turn around, then I'm going to dorsiflex. So toes off the ground as high as I can. Okay, once again, about 10 yards. So you're going to go toes straight ahead, as well as internal rotation and external rotation. So then I'm going to go back to my toes, heels off the ground, get an internal rotation. With each step, I'm thinking about internally rotating my femur and my leg as much as I can. Notice how I'm not rotating, okay? I'm moving at the hip, trying to get more internal rotation with each step. So after 10 yards, I'll then go to my heels, toes off the ground, internally rotated. Same thing, go about 10 yards. Then you'll finish with external rotation on the toes. Once again, externally rotating at the hip, keeping the shoulders square, okay? Followed by external rotation on the heels, okay? Really good for activating the muscles in the calves and shins, as well as you probably get a little burn up in the hips as well. It's a good one for the hips also. One more I'm going to show you for gaining strength, or two more I should say, for gaining strength in the dorsiflexors in particular. We're going to do a toe raise. So a couple ways you can do this. The way I'm going to do it today is I'm going to stand on a plate here. So any elevated surface could be a curb. So kind of get your balance point, and you're literally going to think about pulling your toes up, getting a good squeeze at the top, like so. High rep, so 20, 30, 40 reps at a time, getting a good burn. Really focus on getting them up as high as you can and getting a good squeeze, okay? So that's heel raises right there. Really, really good for the dorsiflexors. Another one you can do is you can anchor a band to some apparatus and then literally do banded dorsiflexion, okay? So I'm going to put the band over the top of my foot. I'm going to let that plantar flexion happen, then pull my toe back like so, fighting that band tension to really strengthen and engage those muscles in the top of the shin. Okay? So that is your protocol. Nice, basic, easy 10, 15, 20-minute protocol, and it will be highly effective as long as you are consistent in keeping plantar fasciitis at bay and helping to improve the condition overall.